train them so hard yesterday they needed a day off today, did they?
Yes, they did. It was a big day, including the hospital visit. They did a great job.
How do you, when you get your hands on the players just for 4 days, how do you go about preparing them for a test like this?
Yeah, it is difficult. So it's a bonus for us to have pretty much everyone that's in the squad. Well, everyone that's in the squad virtually played in the outside of Matty Gillett played in the World Cup for us last year. So it makes it a little easier, but it's difficult for New Zealand as well. But in 2 days they come together, pretty quickly. You'd be surprised. But getting on the same page for game plan and language and things like that is a difficult one. But again, as I said, we've got the World Cup advantage there.
Hey Tim, a team full of superstars, future immortals, seems like you got the easiest job in the world.
Yeah, it would seem that way, wouldn't it? But we had to earn that World Cup tag last year to be world champions, and we had to work very hard for it. So it's not a matter of just turning up. Everyone thinks their mother could coach the Australian side, and maybe they could, but at the end of the day, the pressure's still on the side. They win, they're expected to win. They don't get much credit for that. But you've still got to work hard. And I think you look at the comp this year when I don't think many of you would be doing well in your tipping contest. So you can never come out thinking that you've got the best side, therefore you're obviously going to win. So ask the Roosters this year and sides like that. So it's still a matter of respecting your opposition. Plus, you've got to earn the jumper. It's just an Australian jumper. You don't give them away.
With Sam Thaiday coming, have you settled on your lineup now? Who's running on? Who's on the bench?
Yeah, we'll finalise it tomorrow. But obviously, I've got the 2 young guys there, so I'll be making a decision on that tomorrow.
And who's that between Cordner and
Gillett?
Yeah,
Yeah, Cordner and Gillett. Yeah.
Kiwis still haven't named the squad, still haven't named their team. Is that Tohu Harris was running at 5'8" yesterday at training?
Yeah.
It's sort of all over the place.
Well, look, yeah, I've got a rough idea what they'll do, but again, it's in these sorts of games, you just prepare your own team. You've got 2 days to do it, 2 training sessions to do it. So, we'll prepare what we think they'll do, but basically all we can control is what we can do. So we'll prepare our side to play an intense test match, and we know they're going to come out hard. No matter where they play, they're going to come out hard.
Would you be surprised if Tohu Harris lines up at 5'8"?
I would be, but nevertheless, he's obviously been a ball player as a young guy. Melbourne have used him out wide, so he's got some talent. So that's why he's been picked in the test side. But again, I can't really, as I say, in 2 days we're not going to know. We can't prepare for that. We've just got to prepare ourselves for just getting out there and playing an intense game, making sure our heads are in the right space. It's a big thing for these sorts of games.
So you're obviously focusing on a winning result for you guys, but how important is for the credibility of international rugby league for the Kiwis to be competitive?
Look, again, that's for other people to worry about. My main concern as coach of the Kangaroos is to prepare them to win a game. I know everyone likes the Kiwis to beat us occasionally for the credibility of the game, but I don't like that, and I don't think the players do either. So, but they've beaten us enough times to remind us that they can on those occasions. So, we've got about 15 wins straight there at the moment, and we're keen to, as we've set a high bar last year, we're keen to maintain that.
Is that record that's a motivator, Tim?
Well, actually, I only read it this morning, funny enough. So, yeah, it's an interesting, I think if Wally Lewis and Peter Sterling and Brett Kenny and these guys, Mal Meninga, were playing here on Friday night, you get a fair crowd. So I'm certainly hoping we get a fair crowd out for the guys that have sort of going to hopefully match that record. But the record's not the important thing, but it's just a side thing to it. But, a test match is a test match, and you come out to win every one of them.
Tim, you talked about the crowd. Are you disappointed to hear reports it might only be about half full on Friday night?
Yeah, again, it's not for me to worry about too much, but we need to just play. But a big game, generally, you get a bigger game and a better game if you get a bigger crowd, and I think that's been proven in Anzac Day games, for instance. You get a much better standard. They'll perform better. So I'm hoping, given that it's the first time in 6 years that the Australian test side has played in the middle of Sydney. I'd be very disappointed if they didn't come out to honour those boys. They played really well for Australia and represented their country last year in England. And this is the first chance that you'll get to see them. Maybe the last chance. As was pointed out, their average age is closer to 30 than 20. So maybe they won't be together that much longer. So it's a good chance to come out and support them.
Maybe also if Sydney people don't turn up, it might be the last chance because they might say, well, we won't play it here anymore.
Oh, well, look, again, you're talking about, well, there is always going to be a financial issue in any game, but you talk to the officials about that. My role as coach is to perform well, because it's not much use. No one's going to come and watch the game if it's not a good standard. So, Steve Carney and myself, our job is to prepare them to have a good game. Obviously, the bonus is if a good crowd turns up, I think you'll get that energy from the crowd, and that energy comes into and the players feel that, and you'll see a better game.
Well, Tim, on the grill team this morning, Matty Johns actually said he thinks the game should be moved to Dubbo, do a double header with the City Country. What are your thoughts on that?
Look, again, I go back to the fact that my job's to coach, and I'm happy to be here. I think I'd like to think we'll get a good crowd, and I don't think you'd probably fit them into the field at Dubbo, to be quite honest. But everyone's got an opinion. But at the moment, the game's set here. We're preparing for Friday night. That's all I'm concerned about.
Isaac Luke's obviously a big out for them.
Yeah.
Is that an area of real advantage you see there at a dummy half?
Well, it's a crucial position. Yeah, there's no doubt. So they have to improvise in that position. I think they'll use a couple of hookers, but whoever puts on a Kiwi jumper, plays well. So we've always had tough games against them. Scoreline doesn't always tell you either. And as I say, we go back to the World Cup prior to the last one, and we go back to the 2010 Four Nations when they beat us in the final. So, if you look at through their side, although there's a couple of young guys, admittedly, rookies, but if you go through their side, who's playing poorly? Really, when you really have a look at it, every one of them are in good form, and I think Stephen Carney's picked a side of guys that are playing well. So,
one of the things that they've talked about is building this team to the next World Cup. Is that something that ever goes through your mind, of having to blood younger players? As you mentioned, these guys are getting towards the end of their careers.
We identified it. I brought it to the league's attention 15 months ago that we were between World Cups. There was going to be an issue, but obviously we were concerned about this World Cup first, just gone. But there's no doubt that there will be a transition to a degree. But you can never pick who that's going to be. Darren Lockyer played till mid-30s, Mal Meninga, Petro Civoniceva. So, how many of these guys, they're great athletes, and generally great athletes who look after themselves. You don't know where they'll be in 3 years' time. But there's no doubt that there'll be a percentage of younger player coming through. But already in the group, we have that mid-20 age group in Cherry Evans, Jared Hayne, Greg Inglis, and so on. You'd like to think they'll be the leaders, young Gillette and Boydie Cordners, and although they're not in the squad at the moment, but Andrew Fafita and young Papali, they're all introduced into state football last year and subsequently made the World Cup squad. I would think this year in the squad that plays in the Four Nations, there'll be an element of younger player. But I'm not just going to throw younger guys into the squad at the expense of an older player if he's playing well. He still deserves a jumper.
And you'd have to rip the jumper off half those guys as well. Like they want to keep playing.
That's for sure. Yeah, they're competitive, and that's why they have been a great side. But and time will tell. Who will be there down the track. But I can't tell you whether I'll be coaching them in 3 years, let alone them playing. So at the moment, it's just a matter of the job at hand, which is this week, and then we'll worry about Four Nations and what happens next year will happen. I mean, already quite a few years have come out hard on a few of them, the age of the players, and because they've had for whatever reason, a slow start, and they've been criticised for it. I think it's pretty unfair, given that they've had such a long season last year. Most of these guys back up from all of them played State of Origin last year in my World Cup squad, every one of them, 24 of them. And they had a long campaign in England, the longest campaign they've had for quite a while, and then come back and got away to a flat start in many cases, but you wouldn't say any of them are under threat of being dropped from their team, would you?
Tim, whether it's Isaac John or Taylor Harris or whoever up against Jonathan Thurston, how daunting a prospect is that?
Look, Jono just has to worry about his game from the Kiwi counterpart, whoever it is. To say that you come up against him, you don't really. You're not in the game today. The Kiwi boys will be just looking to play well themselves, And Jonathan's the same. He's not looking to get over the top of his counterpart. Those sort of clashes don't happen in the game in the game today. I'm sure effort will be there. You can bet no matter who plays for a Kiwi. It's the same with the Australian jumper. You'll get an effort. So the intensity is always there. So our job is to make sure that we're on song and that we don't drop off, we don't drop our intensity, and we don't take it for granted that everyone's saying, you know, we're an unbackable favourite. We know we've played under that tag even last year, even though we weren't world champions. So we're used to it. But again, you can be flat. We were flat in this game last year, first half. They had 2 or 3 tries disallowed, and we're unlucky, very unlucky. So, don't worry, I'll remind them about that.
Jill, have you given them any thought to giving GI a little bit of time at fullback?
No.
Not at all.
No.
Tim, sorry,
No.
I'm okay. Sorry, that newspaper article this morning did use the term invisibles. How much of that is an insult to the team, do you think?
Oh, we like to think we're the unbeatables, and at the moment we're going okay. Look, I understand the comment, and I, the team, we're not looking to set records. We didn't look to set records last year. It just happened that we won, and we didn't let a try be scored against us after the English game. But that's nothing you go out to look to do. You go out to win the game, and what happens after that happens. But I think I understand that they're saying that based on the fact that the crowd might not turn up or whatever. But at the end of the day, it is a great Australian side, and if you want to see a good game of football, you come out and watch them and support them this week.